decide what he wants to run on the unit itself. So for example, spam, yes or no, spyware, yes or no, content filter and intrusion prevention. He can customize all the modules. And then for every module, it is also possible to go to configure itself. So for example, if you go to the content filter, then you can enable, disable all the individual modules. And we always have here on the left side, if you can see it properly, we have a home button. So if you're somewhere in the interface and you forgot where you are, you can always press the home button and then you get to the main page, to the front page. In the front page, you will have quick links for statistics information. You will have quick links for often used configuration things like whitelisting, graylisting, one-time listing. You will also have quick links to the configuration sections themselves. So you can easily click here and go straight to the configuration. As we spoke about before, you can see the mails to be scanned and the mails to be delivered. And here it will tell you the queues. And also it's not checking every second, because that takes a lot of resources if there are many mails coming in. So it checks every couple of minutes, and we can see a typical system, it's always 0 in the queue, because it's processing right away. If suddenly a customer, he sees that there are 8,000 mails in the queue, it can be some kind of attack, for example. And then it will already have warned him before it gets to that state. We can see here the message listing, and then also if it is a spam attack or some kind of attack, it's very easy for the user to quickly clean the queues. So you can get rid of everything in the queues if you know everything is some kind of a spam attack or worm attack. They also get a quick overview here of the most critical system engines, and they can see that all the engines is green now, and that means they're all running. And this is the same as in the system status. And if, let's say the customer has chosen not to run Hub 3, but the traffic engine crashes by something, it's a software, and if it crashes, he can also restart it here. But actually the system, if it sees something has crashed, it will also restart it itself. So it is as much self-running as possible. And then that ensures the customer he don't have to worry about if something happens with the software or the things. When we go to the content filter, it is also possible to see, just by dragging the mouse, you can also see what type of content filtering has been enabled. And in the right side here, you're getting some statistics. You can see in the last 24 hours, 70 spam was caught. And we can see how many viruses, spyware, and web filtering. So on this unit here, you can see, for example, web filtering. There are no users behind the unit running with web filtering, because it's 0. You can see here when it got the latest firmware version and the uptime, and see the license and database expire when it has valid subscriptions. So the customer can always see all the details about the unit. Then I go to the next menu, and this is called the anti-spam. And the anti-spam menu, the first step is the statistics. Just go there, and here we can see we can sort by month, and then we can see what type of mail has coming in. We can see that generally here in April there are around 2,000 mails every day, and then we can see how much went to the anti-spam graylisting system, and how many was spam that got through the graylisting system. And then we can see also the volume of the data. So the customer gets statistics about the data. And we see more specific information. So you can go in and see see very specifically what was stopped. Then the next thing is we have a quarantine section, and the quarantine works the way that every user, now I'm logged in as the administrator user, and then I see the quarantine for everybody. But of course, if a customer has many users, 30 users, 20 users, it's not possible for the administrator to log in and manage it because you don't have time for it. So basically, the protector is designed so that every user gets his own quarantine username log into the system. And then every user can log in individually and manage his own spam. Now I'll just go here. I can first go, for example, I go to spam quarantine by date. Then I can see everything in a date-based sorting. And if I go here to the main quarantine, then we see all the mails that are coming in and out. And I can actually click on one, for example, here. And then we see everything about the mail. We see where it was received, which IP address it came from. You can see this one came from Chile. And we see more information about the mail. We see as much as possible. And we even see down here, we can see what was the score, and it was spam. It was listed in the official blacklist. We see here the overall score was 5.29, and then you can see what caused the score. So it's very easy to see and manage everything. If this was, let's say, the guy in Chile that sent this was actually one of our customers, and it was a mistake, then we can release the mail, and then we can learn it as ham, and then it will learn that this is actually not a spam. It will train the system. So the more it gets trained, let's say, for example, we had a customer where they were a customer, of course, but their customer was an Asian, and every time they got some mails from the Asian customer, it kept thinking it was spam because of many factors. And then they can learn a few times to the system that this customer is actually not a spam. And we can also click here on the path, and then we can see what it was inside the mail. And then we see something here about bedroom and woman and things. So this typically is a spam.
Victor, can I have a question to ask?
Yes.
I think this is a good example because I saw in your message listing this one is marked as spam.
Yes.
This was spam, but the same message is also let through sometimes.
Yes.
I can't figure out why, and sometimes it gets blocked and sometimes not.
That can be depending on different reasons. For example, this one we just saw now was sent, and it was also detected as being a blacklist.
Yeah.
That means the user was already blacklisted.
Yeah.
But let's say somebody sends out spam from this hotel, and this IP, this hotel is not banned yet or in any spam list, then it may not get as a high score, and then get through sometimes anyway.
Because the content is the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you go back to your message list and you will see sometimes it's spam and sometimes it's not.
Exactly, and that's why it's not just the content it looks for. Because, for example, in this one here, maybe the content gets a very high score, but in some other mails there are not enough words, so that it's not getting a high score enough.
I get these questions a lot of times. Sometimes I get the question.
Yes.
I'm logged in, I see it's getting blocked, and half a minute later the same message gets.
Exactly. And then what the customer will do, then it will go in, let's say this one was coming in being a valid mail, then he will go in and then learn it as spam.
That's what I...
Yes. And then they train and train the system more and more. It's not enough just one time. And then in the end, it will be blocked as well.
I do actually tell them the story about the rating and
yes.
different parameters that are counted, but still they say the content is the same.
Exactly.
So maybe you should lower your